Thunder crawled over the cliffs while the mansion held its breath, crystal lights trembling above the marble. A gunshot tore the hush, and Don Emilio Vasallo fell with a gasp that sounded like the end of an empire. Alex Marino said, "No one moves," though his pulse pounded like a trapped bird. Blood webbed from a neat hole, creeping toward a phone buzzing on the floor. Alex Marino said, "Answer it," but no one dared. The screen flashed a message already sent, and the words burned hotter than the wound. Alex Marino said, "It's done, the king is dead," reading aloud as if cursing himself. The household stared at him like he had pulled the trigger. Alex Marino said, "Lock the gates and kill the lights," because he tasted a setup. Somewhere outside, tires whispered, and a night wind carried the stench of betrayal. Alex Marino said, "Seal the study and bring me gloves." The order steadied him more than breath. He crouched by the phone and read the message again until it felt carved in bone. Alex Marino said, "Who knew his routine tonight?" A maid whispered names, like she was listing ghosts. He touched the blood's edge and felt heat fading into chill. Alex Marino said, "This shot was close, clean, and intimate." The word intimate made the room recoil. Maya Ortiz said, "No forced entry, no broken glass." Alex Marino said, "So the killer was welcomed, or the killer lived here." A storm thumped the roof like a heartbeat out of time. Sirens wailed in the distance like a promise no one wanted kept. Alex Marino said, "We have minutes before uniforms trample this place." He slid a framed photo aside and found a fresh scuff near the safe. Alex Marino said, "Someone staged panic, not theft." Maya Ortiz said, "Then they wanted the message louder than the murder." Alex Marino said, "They wanted the family to tear itself apart." He opened the safe and found it untouched, a shrine to control. Alex Marino said, "This is a signature." Rain hissed against stone like a whispered threat. The inner circle arrived like crows at dawn, dressed in black and bad faith. Alex Marino said, "Phones on the table." Rings clinked beside silent screens. Dante Kovac said, "This is a funeral, not a checkpoint." Alex Marino said, "It became both the second he hit the floor." Elena Marino said, "We grieve first, then we hunt." Her voice was silk with steel beneath. Alex Marino said, "Grief without facts is a weapon turned inward." Dante Kovac smiled without warmth. A gust rattled the doors as if the night agreed. A burner buzzed inside a crystal bowl like a trapped hornet. Alex Marino said, "Whose line is that?" No one answered, which answered everything. He fished it out, and a map pin glowed on the waterfront. Alex Marino said, "Pier 9, now." Elena Marino said, "You should not go alone." Alex Marino said, "I am never alone in this house." The thunder had gone, but the air still shook. Maya Ortiz said, "I will drive." Alex Marino said, "If this is a lead, it is bait, and bait cuts both ways." The bowl kept trembling after the phone was gone. Rain lingered on the windows, but dawn never softened the house. Alex Marino said, "Pier 9 is not just a mark, it is a message." He leaned over the table where maps were scattered like wounds. Maya Ortiz said, "The call came from inside your walls." Her tone sharpened the silence. Dante Kovac said, "Do you really think one of us carried the king to the grave?" Alex Marino said, "The shot was not from outside, and his blood told me it was a face he trusted." Elena Marino whispered, "Then family drew the circle and family broke it." Her eyes flicked across every name written on the maps, her hands steady, though her breath caught once. Alex Marino said, "Betrayal from inside is more fatal than bullets, and tonight we carry that weight." He slammed his palm down, the glass cracked, and the room flinched. The convoy of black sedans reached Pier 9, the smell of brine and diesel hanging heavy. Alex Marino said, "Stay tight, eyes up." Rusted cranes loomed like iron gallows. Maya Ortiz said, "The signal comes from the warehouse by the dock." Dante Kovac growled, "That's a graveyard waiting to close over us." Elena Marino said, "If you fear shadows, then you've forgotten who you are." Alex Marino said, Fear is not weakness, it is survival sharpened. They moved as one, boots echoing off slick concrete, every step warning them they were trespassing in their own city. The burner buzzed again and fell silent, as if taunting them to open the door. Alex Marino said, "On three, the truth waits, or the lie." His hand pushed the door, wood groaning like it carried old sins. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous and cold, echoes breathing back every sound. Alex Marino said, "Lights." A single bulb flickered alive, swaying, revealing crates stacked like tombs. Maya Ortiz said, "Drug shipments, untouched." Someone planted nothing but fear here. Dante Kovac kicked a crate, splinters flying. Dante Kovac said, "This is smoke without fire." Elena Marino said, "Sometimes smoke is enough to choke." Alex Marino lifted a paper tacked to a pillar, words scrawled, "The king is dead. Who will wear the crown?" Alex Marino said, "They want us to tear at each other until nothing remains." His throat tightened as he recognized the handwriting. Alex Marino whispered, "This was written by someone who dined at our table." His voice cracked the way a blade cracks bone. The harbor wind carried secrets, and the faint smell of gasoline. Alex Marino said, "Someone staged this as theater." Maya Ortiz said, "Then the audience is already watching." A sniper's red dot skimmed across a crate and vanished, just a whisper of light. Dante Kovac cursed, "We're lit like rats." Alex Marino dragged them behind cover. Alex Marino said, "They wanted us here to bleed or to doubt." Elena Marino said, "Doubt is worse than bullets." Alex Marino said, "No, doubt makes bullets find their mark faster." Shots cracked, wood splintered, and silence returned too quickly, like the gunmen wanted fear more than bodies. Alex Marino said, "They'll kill us with questions before they kill us with guns." His heart knew both were true. The gunfire faded, leaving only gulls screaming overhead. Alex Marino said, "We leave nothing behind but ghosts." He pocketed the note like a brand against his chest. Maya Ortiz said, "This is not war. This is a game, and someone is laughing at us." Dante Kovac spat, "Games end with winners, wars end with graves." Elena Marino said, "And which are we digging now?" Alex Marino said, "If we cannot hold together, we will dig both." His voice broke against the morning wind, and for a moment, the four of them looked like survivors of a storm still rising. Alex Marino said, "Trust is gone, suspicion is king, and every king dies." His words carried more prophecy than comfort, and no one dared contradict him. The city's skyline bled into gray dusk, as Alex Marino said, "Loyalty was once blood, now it is ash." He leaned against the balcony of an old hideout above the docks, cigarette trembling between his fingers. Maya Ortiz said, "You cannot carry this alone, suspicion poisons faster than bullets." Alex Marino said, "Every face I see is a knife waiting to turn." Dante Kovac emerged from the shadows, boots heavy, voice low. Dante Kovac said, "You want answers, but you keep aiming questions at allies." Alex Marino said, "Allies and enemies wear the same suits now." Elena Marino stepped into the light, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. Elena Marino said, "If you accuse us all, you'll die alone before the killer even fires again." Alex Marino said, "Better to die hunting truth than to live swallowing lies." The balcony groaned under their silence as neon lights flickered like warning signs. The hideout's interior smelled of damp wood and old whiskey. Alex Marino said, "The king's empire is fracturing and someone feeds the cracks." He poured liquor into full glasses, each sliding across the table like a dare. Maya Ortiz said, "Then find the feeder, not the cracks." Dante Kovac laughed bitterly. Dante Kovac said, "You speak like a priest, yet drink like a sinner." Alex Marino said, "We're all sinners, the only difference is who confesses last." Elena Marino said, "Confession is weakness, survival is silence." She held her glass without drinking, gaze fixed on her brother. Alex Marino said, "Silence killed him faster than any bullet." The words struck like lead, making the walls seem smaller. Outside, a siren howled, and Alex Marino whispered, "If one of you holds the knife, remember I will see the blood on your hands when the dawn comes." Night bled deeper as footsteps echoed in the stairwell. A young runner burst in, face pale. He stammered, "They say the docks are burning." Alex Marino seized him by the collar and said, "Who ordered the fire?" The boy shook, eyes darting. "Maya Ortiz said, let him breathe." Alex Marino released him, but his voice cut sharper. Alex Marino said, "The docks are our lungs, without them we choke." Dante Kovacs slammed his fist on the wall. Dante Kovacs said, "Then someone wants us," gasping while they steal the crown. Elena Marino said, "Or someone wants you chasing smoke while they move in shadows." Alex Marino said, "Either way, fire or smoke, I will find the hand that struck the match." His tone carried fury but also fear, the kind that made silence heavy enough to crush the room. The four arrived at the waterfront, flames leaping high, smoke curling like black snakes against the night sky. Alex Marino shouted, "Who ordered this?" Men scattered among crates, none meeting his eyes. Maya Ortiz said, "This was deliberate. Barrels of fuel stacked too neatly." Dante Kovac lifted a steel rod and said, "Arson and betrayal go hand in hand." Elena Marino said, "Or distraction and betrayal." Alex Marino's throat burned with smoke as he said, "The killer doesn't just want death. They want water. A spectacle to break us apart." Sparks rained across their suits, and the fire roared louder, like applause mocking their confusion. Alex Marino said, "Find me the match, or I will burn with the docks until I know whose hand lit it." His rage carried into the flames, but so did his doubt. When the fire waned, ash rained down like a false snow. Alex Marino said, "We stood guard over an empire of ashes." His words cracked the silence. Maya Ortiz said, "Empires can be rebuilt, but trust cannot." Dante Kovac said, "Trust is for men who want to die blind." Elena Marino said, "And suspicion blinds just as easily." Alex Marino looked at them all, eyes hollow. Alex Marino said, "The docks burned because someone here whispered the spark." The accusation hung like a knife between ribs. Maya Ortiz said, "If you want proof, I'll help you hunt it." Dante Kovac said, "I don't need proof, I already smell the rot in this room." Elena Marino said, "Be careful, Dante. Suspicion has a way of planting roots it cannot cut." Alex Marino turned away, his shadow stretching long against the ruins, knowing the roots were already inside him. The mansion's war room smelled of smoke and varnish as rain faded to a damp hush. Alex Marino said, "Don Emilio kept a second ledger, the real one." Maya Ortiz said, "Hidden where trust could not find it." Dante Kovac said, "Trust is dead, only locks remain." Elena Marino traced a crease on a faded map and said, "He hid things in ritual, not safes." Alex Marino said, "Ritual means places that repeat, clubs, galleries, sanctuaries." Maya Ortiz said, "The cigar club on Miramar has his crest." Dante Kovac said, "Then that is where masks gather." Elena Marino said, "And where masks are sold." Alex Marino said, "We take the crest ring and we take the truth." The ring felt heavier than metal as he pocketed it. They crossed the club's back hall, where portraits stared like judges. Alex Marino said, "The crest fits a plate behind the humidor." Maya Ortiz said, "A key that pretends to be jewelry." Dante Kovac pried wood with a grin and said, "Every mask has a seam." The panel gave way to a narrow vault, cold air sighing like a kept secret. Elena Marino said, "If this is empty, someone walked ahead of us." Alex Marino said, "Then we trailed the footprints in dust." He lifted a ledger wrapped in oilskin and felt a tremor run through his chest. Maya Ortiz said, "Numbers are louder than gunshots when they speak to banks." Dante Kovac said, "Read fast before silence reads us." Back at the mansion, the ledger opened like a wound that bled figures. Alex Marino said, "Shell paths route through Salerno fronts, then vanish offshore. Maya Ortiz said, "There is a board above the kings." Dante Kovacs said, "Boards burn if you soak them." Elena Marino said, "Some boards drown you before the fire starts." A screen blinked, and a video hijacked the room. A voice said, "Return what you stole and choose which life to keep." Isabella Vassallo stared into the frame, gagged and shaking but unbroken. Alex Marino said, "They took her because they fear us." Maya Ortiz said, "They took her because they know you." The silence after that line felt like a verdict. They hunted the ledger's cipher in a gallery that smelled of varnish and cold marble. Alex Marino said, "These paintings are keys if you know the hymn." Maya Ortiz said, "Numbers hide in brushwork and titles." Dante Kovacs said, "Art that launders bullets is still art." Elena Marino stepped before a triptych and said, "Three paths, three dates, three lies." Alex Marino pressed the signet into a plaque, and a plinth shifted with a steel sigh. Papers gleamed inside like fish in a net. Maya Ortiz said, "This ties Salerno to foreign ports and to a patron, marked only as choir." Dante Kovacs said, "A choir needs a conductor." Elena Marino said, "Or a god who never leaves fingerprints." They confronted Victor Salerno in a shuttered restaurant where linen gleamed like ice. Alex Marino said, "Your fronts feed a ghost called choir." Victor Salerno sipped once and said, "Ghosts feed everyone when storms rise." Maya Ortiz said, "Return Isabella or the city hears the ledger sing." Victor Salerno smiled thinly and said, "The city prefers lullabies." Dante Kovacs said, "I can teach it drums." Elena Marino said, "Enough songs, speak names." Victor Salerno said, "Names are for tombstones and invoices." Alex Marino leaned in and said, "Then I will start engraving." A bug ticked under the table, and a new voice filled the room. The voice said, "Careful, brother, crowns cut skin." The mansion's great hall became a tribunal, thunder now replaced by murmurs of fear. Alex Marino said, "Victor's silence tells more than his tongue ever could." He paced before the table where glasses remained untouched. Maya Ortiz said, "The ledger sings in codes, and the code is choir. Every number is a hymn to corruption." Dante Kovacs slammed his fist and said, "Then why do we keep listening instead of tearing throats?" Elena Marino said, "Because tearing without knowing leaves us blind and bloodied." Alex Marino said, "Blindness already stalks this room. The docks burned, Isabella is caged, and one of us is feeding the fire." Maya Ortiz said, "Then ask yourself why the betrayer keeps us alive instead of finishing it." Alex Marino stared at the ring in his hand and said, "Because cruelty tastes sweeter when trust does the seasoning." His voice echoed like a curse no wall could contain. They gathered at the waterfront chapel where wax dripped like blood on marble. Alex Marino said, "This is where Don Emilio prayed before war." Maya Ortiz said, "He prayed with ledgers, not beads." Dante Kovacs laughed harshly and said, "Every prayer here was for dominance, never mercy." Elena Marino brushed a candlestick and said, "Dominance has its rituals, but mercy has its shadows." Alex Marino opened the confessional and found carvings inside. Alex Marino said, "Numbers scratched into oak. 793, pier markers." Maya Ortiz said, "They move product like saints move relics." Dante Kovacs said, "Then we break the reliquary." Elena Marino whispered, "And lose what soul remains." Alex Marino shut the booth hard and said, "The betrayer mocks us with faith, and I will burn their scripture with their body." His vow stung colder than the chapel air. The pier markers led them to a warehouse stripped bare except for one chained figure. Isabella Vassallo raised her head, eyes blazing, though lips split. Alex Marino rushed forward and said, "Who touched you?" She whispered, "Someone who wears your blood." Maya Ortiz said, "She's saying family." Dante Kovacs snarled, "Then speak the name and end this farce." Isabella shook her head and said, "The knife waits for me if I speak." Elena Marino bent low, her voice soft as glass. Elena Marino said, "Sometimes silence is survival." Alex Marino gripped his sister's wrist and said, "And sometimes silence is betrayal wearing perfume." His voice cracked, the sound of a man torn in half. Isabella whispered, "The choir already knows your footsteps." The chains rattled like applause in the hollow hall. Later in the mansion's lower chambers, voices clashed louder than storms. Alex Marino said, "She named no one, but her eyes screamed louder than mouths." Dante Kovac said, "Eyes lie smoother than lips." Maya Ortiz snapped, "Then what proof do you carry beyond fists?" Elena Marino said, "Proof hides in the ledger's choir, not in bruises." Alex Marino slammed the ledger open and said, "Every code is a hymn. Every hymn points to one seat at this table." He traced entries with shaking fingers. Alex Marino said, "A hand close enough to count our breaths." Dante Kovac said, "Say it plain." Alex Marino glared across the table and said, "If I say it, the walls will hear before you do." His voice broke into a whisper, carrying accusation that refused to become a name, but everyone tasted its edge like steel. The night ended on the mansion's balcony, sea wind cutting sharper than knives. Alex Marino said, "I hear the choir in waves now." Maya Ortiz said, "Paranoia eats bones faster than bullets." Dante Kovac said, "Better paranoia than poison in your drink." Elena Marino said, "And yet poison always tastes sweet before it kills." Alex Marino said, "If the betrayer stands among us, let them stand taller so my bullet finds them sooner." Silence stretched, filled only by crashing waves. Maya Ortiz said, "The truth is coming, Alex, but it will hurt more than chains or fire." Alex Marino turned his face into the wind and whispered, "Pain is the only proof I ever trusted." His words scattered into the sea, and every ear on that balcony believed them. The storm had passed, but its ghost clung to the mansion's corridors as Alex Marino walked with a rage that had no destination. He said, "The choir sings with our blood, but one voice guides them closer than any rival." Maya Ortiz followed, her tone sharp as glass. Maya Ortiz said, "You're circling names without cutting them open." Dante Kovac stepped into the hall, arms folded. Dante Kovac said, "He fears the truth because truth wears a familiar face." Alex Marino turned, eyes burning. Alex Marino said, "Fear is not what keeps me silent. It is the certainty that when I speak it, the walls themselves will collapse." Elena Marino appeared at the stairs' curve, her gaze unreadable. Elena Marino said, "Then speak, brother, let collapse come, if you believe it delivers freedom." Alex Marino clenched his fists and said, "Freedom does not come from collapse. It comes from knowing which hand loosened the stone that crushed us." The study became a cage of words and stares. Alex Marino slammed the ledger onto the desk, papers flying like startled birds. He said, "Here, payments traced, shipments cloaked, messages whispered, all signed in codes I never thought I'd read." Maya Ortiz grabbed a page, her face pale. Maya Ortiz said, "These are not random, they are initials." Dante Kovac growled, "Whose hand shapes those letters?" Alex Marino's voice cracked. Alex Marino said, "EM repeated, hidden but not hidden enough." Elena Marino's calm mask did not falter. Elena Marino said, "Letters are illusions, Alex, meant to distract the desperate." He shouted, "Illusions do not burn docks, do not chain sisters, do not bleed kings." Maya Ortiz said, "Alex, if you believe what you see, then you already know where this road ends." His silence admitted the truth he feared to breathe. The basement chamber smelled of damp stone and betrayal. Alex Marino said, "You think I won't name you, Elena, but the ledger already has." Elena Marino's lips curved faintly. Elena Marino said, "And yet you doubt yourself enough to tremble." Maya Ortiz said, "He trembles because he still wants to believe blood shields him." Dante Kovac barked, "Blood shields nothing, it stains deeper." Elena Marino stepped closer, her voice cutting. Elena Marino said, "The king chose me to inherit, not you, Alex. You were muscle, nothing more." His breath caught like a blade. Alex Marino said, Then you aimed his death to sit in his chair. She leaned in, eyes cold. Elena Marino said, I aimed higher than his chair. I aimed at the empire behind the empire. Silence fell heavy as stone, crushing what was left of loyalty. Rain returned in a whisper as they stood in the chapel ruins, fire-charred walls still warm. Alex Marino said, You played us, sister, every step, every whisper. Elena Marino's tone was ice. Elena Marino said, I guided us, because weakness would have drowned us. Maya Ortiz spat, guided into fire, chains, corpses. Dante Kovac said, She guided herself to the choir, and left us as ashes. Elena Marino turned on him, voice sharp as steel. Elena Marino said, The choir offered survival, and I chose survival over worshipping a corpse. Alex Marino said, Then you sold us, Elena, traded blood for their coin. She stepped closer, her eyes never flinching. Elena Marino said, No, Alex. I traded you because you never understood the game, and games are all that matter. His chest heaved, broken by a truth that cut deeper than bullets. The final confrontation of truth came in the mansion's highest chamber, winds clawing through broken shutters. Alex Marino shouted, Tell me why, Elena. Why carve out our family's heart? She stepped forward, unflinching. Elena Marino said, Because the heart was rotten, Alex. Don Emilio's empire was never ours. It was the choir's leash around our necks. I cut it, and I took their hand instead. Maya Ortiz said, You betrayed more than a brother. You betrayed every name buried for this empire. Dante Kovac roared, And you betrayed me, who bled to keep you safe. Elena Marino said, Safety is a lie. Power is the only prayer answered. Alex Marino's voice broke into fury and grief. Alex Marino said, Then I will answer with bullets, not prayers. Elena Marino whispered, Then you finally speak the choir's language. The chamber drowned in silence thick as death. The estate's secluded hall gleamed with gold trim that mocked the blood already spilled upon its marble. Alex Marino stormed in, pistol drawn, voice hoarse. Alex Marino said, This place is the stage where masks die. Elena Marino stood near the hearth, posture regal, eyes burning with conviction. Elena Marino said, No masks, brother. Only crowns, and you were never strong enough to wear one. Maya Ortiz stepped between them, shouting, Both of you are bleeding this empire into the ground, and I will not let the choir win by watching siblings butcher each other. Dante Kovac said, The choir already won the moment trust cracked. Alex Marino snarled, Then let me win it back with her death. Elena Marino smirked and said, You can kill me, Alex, but you cannot kill the world I've built behind your back. His hand shook, torn between rage and the ghost of love he still bore for her. The hall's silence cracked with shouts as lightning clawed across windows. Alex Marino said, You chained Isabella, you burned the docks, you slit Emilio's reign open like a carcass, and still you call yourself savior. Elena Marino laughed, cold and sharp. Elena Marino said, Emilio was a puppet, a relic. I carved a leash from his throat before it strangled us all. Maya Ortiz cried out, You strangled everyone else instead. Dante Kovac slammed a chair aside, roaring, Enough, you want blood, then take mine first. Alex Marino turned on him, snarling, Don't mistake me for a coward, Dante. This bullet is carved for her. Elena Marino whispered, You still hesitate, brother. That hesitation is why the choir chose me instead of you. Alex Marino's knuckles whitened around the pistol, his heart bleeding faster than any wound could. Gunfire finally shattered the hall. Alex Marino pulled the trigger, but Elena spun, bullet carving stone. Elena Marino fired back, sparks kissing chandeliers, shards raining like stars. Maya Ortiz screamed, Stop before none of you crawl out alive. Dante Kovac charged, tackling Alex aside, snarling, If you kill her, the choir crowns another in her place. Alex Marino gasped under his weight, shouting, Then better to bury the crown with her blood than let it pass. Elena Marino leveled her weapon, eyes ablaze. Elena Marino said, Do it, Alex. Prove you are no better than the killers you claim to fight. Alex Marino's breath shook, the memory of childhood dinners flashing before his eyes, but rage smothered nostalgia. He said, "The only crown I wear is vengeance." Gunfire thundered again, deafening, sealing their fate. Blood soaked the floor as silence reclaimed what bullets could not. Elena Marino staggered, clutching her side, but her eyes still blazed with triumph. Elena Marino said, "Kill me, Alex, and Choir still thrives. Spare me, and I finish what you never could." Alex Marino's voice broke. "You were my blood, my anchor. And now you are the weight dragging me under." Maya Ortiz said, "Alex, if you finish her, you bury yourself too." Dante Kovac, panting, growled, "Do it. End the game. Let the world see justice in fire, not in whispers." Elena Marino's lips curled as she whispered, "Justice is just revenge in holy robes. And you wear it poorly, brother." Alex Marino raised the pistol once more, his finger trembling between ending her reign and ending himself with it. His breath caught on the cliff edge of choice. One. Dawn bled through broken shutters, pale light falling on ruin. Elena Marino lay silent, her eyes still open but her power ended. Alex Marino dropped the pistol, breath hollow, voice raw. Alex Marino said, "The Empire is ash, and I stand in its smoke." Maya Ortiz whispered, "Ash can choke or cleanse, but it never heals." Dante Kovac leaned on a shattered pillar, his voice like gravel. Dante Kovac said, "We killed a kingdom to save nothing." Alex Marino turned to the window, sea wind striking his battered face. He said, "I will carry ghosts heavier than crowns, but I will walk, because walking is all I have left." He stepped into the courtyard, limping, eyes empty, dawn swallowing him whole. A phone rang in the distance, shrill and cold. Alex Marino said, "Another war waits," his words trailing into silence as the screen of his life faded to black.